Good morning, everyone. My greetings to all of you. Myself, B. Ajiram, Assistant Professor, CSC Department, Lendi Institute of Engineering and Technology. So today I am going to discuss about the subject Principles of Programming Languages. This subject is completely about a discussion of different programming languages we have from the past till now. So here you can see a glance of different programming languages. We have many programming languages from the past. Some of the oldest programming languages are Fortran, Algol, Ada, Basic, COBOL, and Pascal. Fortran had many versions. It came into existence in 1957. Until 1990, it has around 4 to 5 versions. Algol came into existence in 1958 with the name Algol 58. Then some of the additional features came into existence. Then it changed to Algol 60. Then we have Algol W. So in this way, Algol came into existence. Pascal is also a variation of Algol, which came into existence in 1971. Basic is also a bit of variations of Algol, which came into existence in 1964. COBOL came into existence in 1961. So in this way, many programming languages came into existence from the past 50 years. So these are the oldest programming languages. Then when we come to the new programming languages, we have C, C++, Java, Lisp, Snowball, Scheme, and so on. This is a glance of different programming languages we have from the past. Now we have to know what is a programming language. Why exactly a programming language is needed for us. A programming language is nothing but a notational form for describing the computation in machine readable and human readable forms. When you go with the computer system, it understands only the machine language. We need a programming language to describe the computation to the machine language. There are two types of languages, high level languages and low level languages. C language comes under the high level language, and assembly language along with some other languages are designed which come under the low level languages. The main motive of all these languages is nothing but to communicate with the computer and do the computation part. So that's the need for a programming language. Then we have to know what are the types of programming languages we have. So with their features and their requirements, the programming languages are divided into 5 types. We have imperative languages, functional languages, logic or declarative languages, object-oriented languages, and markup languages. When we go with the imperative languages, some of the features of imperative languages are variables, assignment statements, and iterations, the loopings and all. Examples under imperative languages are C and Pascal. When we go with the C language or Pascal language, we have features like variables, assignment statements, and conditional statements and iterations and all. So these are called as imperative languages. Then when we go with the functional languages, under functional languages, we do all the computations by means of applying functions. Whenever we need to do a computation, we create a function by giving some parameters, and by means of those parameters, we access the functions. Examples under the functional languages are Lisp and Scheme. Then we have the logic of the declarative languages. Logic languages are completely based on symbolic logic forms. Here, where we create rules and we create inference rules, and by means of those rules, we do the computation. We also have the if then part, where if will be the antecedent and then will be the consequent. If there is any antecedent, the subsequent consequent will be following there. The example under the logic languages are Prolog. Prolog is nothing but programming language. So it's completely based on symbolic logic. Then we have the object oriented languages. Under object oriented languages, we have many special features like data abstraction, inheritance, and binding. Data abstraction is nothing but giving the abstract view of the complete data, hiding all the data and only showing the essential part. Inheritance is nothing but one class is acquiring the properties of other class. So binding is nothing but how the values or the variables are bounded to the data types. So these are some of the features of object oriented languages. And in object oriented languages, we create object for all the classes, and by means of the objects, we access the methods we have. So we have examples like C++ and Java under the object oriented languages. Then we have the markup languages. Markup languages are completely used for designing the web documents, the static web documents or the dynamic web documents. The languages like HTML and XML are used under the markup languages. So these are the five types of languages we have under the classification of programming languages. Now see how programming language paradigms are divided. So by means of syntax, some languages are derived, and those are called as imperative languages. And by means of semantics, some other languages are derived, which are called as functional languages. By means of scope and binding, some other languages are derived, which are called as object-oriented languages. By means of passing parameters, some languages are derived, which are based on completely multi-paradigm, combination of two or three paradigms. And we have finally the based on the types and all, we have declarative or logic languages. So under imperative languages, we have C, Basic, and Fortran. Under functional languages, we have ML, Haskell, Scheme, and Common Lisp. Under object-oriented languages, we have Java, Smalltalk, Objective-C. Under multi-paradigm languages, we have C Sharp, Ruby, Python, and Perl. And under the logic languages, we have the SQL, Prolog, and Clips and Mercury. So these are the main different programming languages which we have from the past till now. Now we have to know what are the reasons for studying all the programming languages. So why exactly we need to study the programming languages? Programming languages increase the capacity to express ideas. So whenever we learn new programming languages, the capacity for us to express new ideas will be increasing. And one more reason for studying the programming languages is the improved background for choosing appropriate languages. Whenever we have some project to be done, we should have a background to choose the appropriate languages. If we just know one language, we have no other choice of using that language in the project. If we know multiple languages, then we will have a choice of selecting our own language, which is completely related to the project. So choice of languages for any new project will be done by learning programming languages. And also increased ability to learn new languages. Ability to learn new languages also will increase by studying the programming languages. And then we have understanding the significance of the implementation. While studying different programming languages, we'll understand the implementation of programming languages, various programming languages, how do they vary in different programming languages and all. And by knowing that, we can better use of those languages, and we can also become better programmers by understanding and knowing our own choices. Studying of programming languages also increases the overall advancement of the computing nowadays. So these are the different reasons why we study different programming languages. Some of the programming domains are given here, where how the programming languages are exactly specified to particular areas. We have domains like scientific applications. So for research and scientific applications, we use some of the languages like Fortran and Algol. So initially, in the olden days, Fortran was used for scientific applications, and then Algol 60 and its also used for the scientific applications. So these two languages come under the scientific applications domain. Then we have the business applications, where we use the COBOL language. COBOL is one of the successful language which is used for the business applications. Business application is completely about producing reports, describing, storing decimal numbers and the data. For all these purposes, we have been using COBOL language, and it is also one of the most successful language for using these applications. Then we have the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is one of the prominent area nowadays, where completely we use the symbolic computation, and it is also more convenient for us to use. Lisp is one of the most widely used artificial intelligence language. And some other programming languages are also used in this domain, like Prolog, Melish, and Clockson. So all these programming languages come under the domain artificial intelligence. Then we have the system programming. System programming domain is completely based on operating systems and also other programming supporting tools like C. C language is one of the most extensively used language for system programming. Then we have the web software domain, where the markup languages like HTML, XHTML are used. And nowadays, the scripting languages like JavaScript, Perl, PHP are completely and widely used eh, and globally. So, yeah, under a global view, all these languages, all these scripting and markup languages are used. So, these all languages come under the web domain. So, these are different software domains we have. I hope you got a clear cut idea of what are the different programming languages and why exactly we read all the programming languages. That's all for the class, and thank you.